5th, 2015 special meeting to order, if that's possible. This group, get them in order. We're meeting this evening to review letters of interest for an open board seat. Prior to that, Mrs. Luton, please let the record show that all members of the board are in attendance this time. So we'll move on from roll call into our new business. Review letters of interest for open board seat. I know this is certainly the first time that I've been through this process on the board, and maybe one or two of you have been through a process similar to this in the past. But while we have a board policy that helps us with this process, there's some things that we may do and things that we've selected to do, but it's not especially spelled out for us step by step. So we're doing our very best to adhere to our policy. At this time, we have 19 letters of interest for review. We received those on board docs about 24 hours ago. So we've spent a lot of time reading and reviewing and thinking individually. At this time, I'm going to open the floor for discussion. And you may feel free to discuss the process. I think what I plan to do is just discuss the process and what in my own thinking, and what led me to my selection of 3 finalists. You're welcome to do the same, or you can talk more specifically, or not at all. So I think that's up to each one of you. So who wants to open up with a discussion of what you think about this process and what you think about our letters of interest? So who wants to start out this evening? You know, I'm really good at calling someone that doesn't raise their hand, so.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'll start by saying that I was gratified that we got 19 people interested in volunteering their time for this service, and I just couldn't be more grateful. There were names that I recognized and names that were totally new to me, and that made it very difficult. Also, if I had a chance for us to do this again, I would probably be maybe a little more intentional in our asking questions, or maybe giving maybe instead of a letter, but maybe an application or something like that, because it was tough to filter through this. But what I was looking for was someone who could come in and get started pretty quickly, because we really don't have that many board meetings. We do have, I think there's 7-10 board meetings between now and the election, although it feels like there's 50 sometimes.
What did he mean by that, Bruce?
Nothing personal. Yeah.
With special meetings, we could have.
But that's not to say that this isn't important and that it isn't right that we should fill this in. The other thing that I'm very concerned about is, by the board's action, communicating to the community who we would want to run for board, or to be on the board, to be elected to the board next April. And I know it may be a little crass to even mention that, but that's just one of the realities of this. And so I've been very concerned about that as well. And I've tried to set that aside. What I'm looking for is someone who can come in and help us at the get-go.
Thank you, Tim.
I agree with Tim on what he said. Those have been things running through my mind as I reviewed these. Also, I tried to keep in mind what are the skills or the background or whatever that may be missing from the board. I would prefer not to pick a winner.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's our role to have a big influence in an election, but we have to do this, and so we still have to pick the best thing to do at this point. And so I still look at what kind of experience, background, what are we missing on the board? what are the pieces that would round us out a little bit better. So I kind of tried to keep that in mind as I move forward with trying to select the top 3.
I'd just say, to me, it was like kind of the report we had last night. Is this really, we're picking somebody for attendance like the state does? Do you just fill a seat? And if that's what we're doing, then I like my idea better of not appointing anybody. So if, and that wasn't what I think the majority of the board wanted, so I did exactly the same thing, was able to look through with the idea of who do I think could really hit the ground running right now, and who would be able to give us some input on some areas that maybe at this point in time, I agree with Annie, and that we don't have at the table. So to me, that was extremely important as I looked at the long list of names and the number of people that really had some very good qualifications.
I'm not afraid of you calling on me, but I just don't have any introductory remarks.
Okay.
That's what
fine.
you do when a teacher's looking at you. You just deal with it.
Yeah, I still kind of have that look,
I know.
don't I?
And it didn't change a thing, but I just don't have any. Got nothing.
Yeah, don't look down, whatever you do. That's when you'll get called on.
Jerry's looking down.
Okay, anyone else? I will give a few thoughts. Things that I looked at, I went back to our Board of Education norms, responsibilities, procedures, and expectations. And while a person who would serve with us between now and April certainly would not need to demonstrate all those responsibilities, for example, hiring a superintendent and adopting mission vision, although we are working on our strategic goals between now and then. While some of those responsibilities, this person would not be required to be responsible for directly, but I do believe that when we get to Roman numeral 3, individual board member responsibilities, there are some very important characteristics there I looked to, and that was expertise. So someone's expertise in serving, understanding how to serve on a board, or what's involved in serving on a board or on a committee. That was important to me. So having some experience or expertise with that. Another is that's important for us as individual board members, and that's public ambassador. So also someone that could represent or would represent the school district out and about in the community, and then also someone that is involved in the community that can bring back to us what that person, their experience or what they're currently doing in the community, bring that back to us. I think a temporary person can do that in a good way. And then I also think it's very important that the individual that we select is someone that has, however they have done this, stayed informed of current topics in education, so they understand public education, advocate for public education and the world that we all live in. So those are the things I looked at in making my decision. I'm also on my finalists. I agree with Tim that this is very encouraging that we had 19 people apply, and it's encouraging because I feel like that folks want to be a part of what we're doing. They're interested in what we're doing, and maybe there's a sense of excitement out in the community as what we're doing and want to be a part of it. I hope that's what having 19 letters of interest indicates. And I think it's also very important to me that who we certainly, and I agree with Bruce, someone that can step on quickly and move forward with us, because we have a lot of work ahead of us and a lot to do even between now and April. And that's very important to me. So I guess that's about all I have to say, which is probably enough. What?
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, Forrest.
All I got to say.
That's all I got to say. No. So at this time, I'm just recommending, and if you have a better way to do this, please let me know, because that's the beauty of having 6 great minds to work through this. And that is, I thought we might take, I think we each received one document that has a list of all of our 19 candidates. And if you no need to rank, but we have earlier at our last meeting decided we would narrow this down to 3 finalists. So if you would want to take that, I hope everyone has a copy of that. If you want to circle your top 3, I don't think at this time there's a need to rank. If you want to circle your top 3 candidates, and we'll give that to Mrs. Luton, and then you can do some analysis for us, and then give me a list of names.
Do you want our name on this, or, okay, all right.
Do we need our name on it? I don't think we need to
These
put
are
a
all
name
loud
on it.
again.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, okay.
I guess I could lift my posters.
Understand what is it? Clearly,
Sorry.
it's a question. Get the papers back later. She's gonna grade them. Why don't we just pass them to each other? Just certainly trade papers.
I guess at this time we could take a short break while Mrs. Luton's working on that. Ready? We will proceed. In this part of our process, we have reached consensus
Really?
on our finalists, our 3 finalists. We will ask these individuals to come back next Tuesday at 6:30 for interviews. So our 3 is Mr. Matthew Simpson, Ms. Jean Twitty, and Dr. Melissa Pinkalski. Pinkalski?
Say them one more time, please.
Yes. Matthew Simpson, Jean Twitty, and Dr. Melissa Pinkalski.
Very good then.
I appreciate your
Well,
time.
I
out.
guess I'd
Oh,
like
sorry.
the question of, call it kind of the question of consensus. Does everybody on the board consent to this slate or this list? I think that's what we're looking for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And just
that's
a
what I
nodding of the
assume
head.
by our
I do.
I assume that
results.
means they got more votes than anybody else. I mean,
Yes.
when you say consensus.
Kathy, you want to tell us how you did that, perhaps?
Just tallied the votes.
They had the top 3 votes. Yep.
That's the fairest way to do it, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if there's somebody
Sure.
who's passionate about someone else,
Yeah.
Jerry, any research?
give your consent.
Oh, yeah.
So of the 6 of us, those are the 3 individuals that received the most votes total of the 6 of us. So clear. Okay. So our next, thank you, Tim, for bringing that up. Anyone have any last minute comments or questions? Bruce, do you?
No, I think you're going to talk about the 10th, though, right?
Yes. Okay. See, Bruce could see it on my face as he was leaning forward. So I will be, or Kathy will send you an email, probably soon, asking feedback on some potential questions for our interview. I think our first question will be to ask our 3 finalists if they meet all the requirements to be on our board, because I would like to have a verbal yes, and those requirements: citizen of the U.S., voter of the school district, the list that we all had to sign off on an affidavit when we picked up petitions, and then when we were elected to the board. So we do want a verbal from those individuals, and then we, depending upon how much time we want to spend, I've had a couple of people recommend no more than 2 questions,
Really?
or 3. So we can make that decision now. How many questions? What's the will of the board in terms of the number of questions for our interview?
I don't have a
Any
magic
thoughts?
one in mind, but I had thought 3. At the
3.
time I thought that, I also knew which 3 I thought of, so that would take me a little time to reconjure those. But I certainly don't think we need like an hour-long conversation with everyone.
Are we gonna give them a chance to have a few minutes, 5 minutes, something to tell us what they wanna tell us in addition to the 3 questions we want to ask them?
I think that could be one of the questions. So when you send me your questions, also kind of give me, or send Kathy your questions, tell us how many you think should be, and I think that would, I mean, I think 3 is sufficient. I think for what we're expecting of this individual between now and April, we could get some really good information from them in 3 questions, but I'm open. Annie?
I was asking a different question. So if you want to
Oh,
finish that,
okay.
I will.
Tim, your thoughts on, because we.
Well, I was just thinking, I was just thinking, Denise, that the MSBA stuff that was sent out by Kathy today to each of us by email has a list of sample questions, and they're pretty good. What I'm probably going to do is just find the questions that I think get to the point the best of those, and I don't, because I have a feeling I don't think I'm better at this than MSBA, but I might be. But
Yeah. Okay.
Can I clarify? It's no longer at 4, it's now at 6:30?
It is 6:30.
All right, let's get that scheduled properly.
And so that would be Tuesday at 6:30. And Mrs. Luton will contact our finalists as soon as possible.
If they can't make it,
Well, they need to make it.
okay? Okay.
Because we as a board have been struggling to find the time for the 6 of us to be
Though
available.
we changed the time a little bit recently, we've always said that the finalists would be November 10th. That's been from the beginning
Yes.
in this setting.
Yes.
So we shall hope
Okay.
that that's not a problem.
Okay.
Because
Then-
we did give that date
So
at our last.
I do have a different question. Are we ready?
Okay, are we ready to move on? So, let me make sure, we'll go back. I kind of do this for myself as well. Send potential questions to Mrs. Luton as soon as possible. And then, once we get those, I'm sure, knowing our group, that we may have some same question lines, and so we can kind of assimilate that or kind of put that into one like question. Okay, and so, okay, that'll help guide us on how many. Annie?
I know that this is a public interview, but are all the candidates going to be here and listen to each of the interviews? Which I think would be kind of unfortunate. To me, it seems like they ought to each come in one at a time.
Well,
It is a requirement on that,
it's an open session,
even for the people being interviewed.
Last time we did it, everybody was in the room.
yeah.
And
With an open
I
session
hear you,
for-
except for, I'm thinking back to when we were recently on the slate of candidates and we were on tour. Remember, Bruce, when we were on tour?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so even though that's a good point, we all heard each other saying whatever we each said to the same questions. You make a good point, but that worked fine too, the other way, which is that we all sat there and heard each other.
Okay.
And we just switched who went first.
We did. Now, we can't do that this time. I didn't
No.
remember that.
What,
It's not witnesses or testimony.
no.
What's
I
that?
mean, this isn't witnesses or testimony,
It isn't.
like in a
We,
court.
we want to make this process as comfortable for our applicants because we're so pleased that we had these people come forward and want to do this. So I certainly don't want to put them through a difficult process. So, okay, Annie, did you get your answer?
I got it.
She's now adding to the decor of the room to make it even more comfortable.
Put a
Not gonna be a
recliner
perfect
here.
situation, no matter.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So before we move on and I ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, I want to make one last opportunity for anyone that you want to share anything at this time and/or any recommendations for what our November 10 meeting will look like. Bruce, anything last you want to say? Okay, Jill?
No.
Annie?
Good.
Tim's pick lock. Jerry? Okay, I'm good. All right, so at this time I would like, I'm asking for, I'm sorry.
Interrupt, but just, we talked about this, I just want to clarify and make sure that we're on the same page on this. That between now and next Tuesday, I need to contact the candidates to come in and complete this form.
Yes, and we also mentioned that, I think, that, and that form includes things we do want to get a verbal yes. Well, if we do that,
So we'll get
it's taken care of, and we don't need to make that one of our questions. She's talking about the affidavit that you sign, that you're a citizen of the U.S., you're a resident of Springfield, you've paid your taxes, you're not a felon. all
Yes,
those
I would
things.
agree with you that if they have done that, there's no reason
Okay.
to have that as a verbal response.
Okay, so,
just want you all are on the same page that we should have this
Yes.
done
Yes.
prior to the interview.
Yes. Good.
Tuesday, yeah,
absolutely. And that will
take care of that.
negate the need for a verbal.
Yeah.
It will. I'm just thinking of how far in advance, because if perchance that meant that somebody wasn't eligible, would that mean that we wanted to add someone? Not trying to be difficult, so can we be sure to do that sooner than later?
ASAP, like you could make, you have
I'll let you go now.
contact information for the 3 that we can call tonight. Yeah,
Thank you.
so they will have until Tuesday.
Yes, I mean, I was just asking.
To do
you to
this.
come in and sign this form prior to the meeting on Tuesday.
And I don't think any of this timing should be a surprise, since we have been talking about this at a couple of board meetings, or at least we talked about this at Tuesday's board meeting.
Okay, good. We'll assume that that will not create a roadblock.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
So move.
Thank you. Motion by Annie Bush that we adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Jerry Lee, a second. We do need to take a vote, so it will pop up on board docs. Okay.
Excellent.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming.